Welcome, everyone, to a special first ever live edition of Global Comic Safari. We're out here running without a net with Matt Roybal. That is scary on its own right. God knows where we're going to go. And thank anybody that is crazy enough to watch this little endeavor. We're back with a real set show. We haven't done one of those in a little bit. We're going to do Weird Western Tales 12. And if you stick around after the set, we're going to do a little bit of pickup showing off and to show just maybe a little Q&A and stuff since we don't really do the live events much. So we'll give it a shot. How you doing, Matt? You ready to try this out?
I'm ready to try it out. I don't know how it will work, but
yeah,
it'll be fine.
I don't have a bleep button, so I'm a little worried.
Oh, I'm going to cuss a lot. If you're under the age of 18, leave now.
All right. I just want to thank one of our sponsors for the channel, Comics Barricade. Follow them at Comic Barricade on IG and www.comicbarricade.com. They are the best source for stabilizing your books and your boxes. They prevent the dreaded spine ding, and they just overall add stability to your boxes. If you're somewhere you got to stack them 4 or 5 deep, it'll keep them from doing the crunching and damaging your book. So check them out. If you use the code CBSI Tales, you'll get a 10% discount on top of the free shipping for your order.
It's awesome. Hey, quick question. Do they make magazine-sized ones?
Not yet. They're all the standard silver modern size right now. So standard box size. I do also want to thank our friends at comicbookinvest.com, CBSI, the #1 place for your comic information and spec and just random knowledge that comes up. So check them out. We got fancy graphics and everything now.
I know, man. You guys at CBSI are really doing a good job with your promo graphics and stuff. It's coming along, man.
Yeah, we're getting there.
McClay's doing those, right?
McClay does some, and Peter does some of the graphics for us. It is odd that we have the non-graphics people doing graphics and we have you doing research. So what are we going to do here?
I don't know, but I do graphics all day at work. This is where I want to enjoy myself, man. Don't pressure me with graphics.
We'll let you jabber and talk crazy. So we're going to go ahead and get digging into the set. And then, like I said, if you stick around after the set, we're going to do a little bit of a mini pickup show and just some Q&A for whoever's here. So, as I said, we're doing Weird Western Tales 12.
Beautiful.
So, what makes this book special? It's the first titled issue of Weird Western Tales. Comes over from All Star Western. It's the 3rd Jonah Hex appearance.
Oh yeah,
and it kind of becomes his title, so to speak, in this run. It's got an amazing Kubert cover.
Oh God, I love this cover, John.
Yeah, it is a good cover. I was like, why are you so obsessed with this book? But as I've looked at the different versions, I get it. It grows on you quickly.
Yeah, it's just so cool. With the skull cave, I love it.
Yeah, it's got some pretty art. Jonah Hex saves the life of a Pawnee chief's daughter. When the tribe befriends him, it is wiped out by smallpox, riddled blankets. Jonah takes revenge on the men responsible. So
yeah,
Jonah Hex was a bit of a darker kind of Western story than we're used to than the happy cowboys of the 50s.
Oh yeah, that's why I like the guy. That's why I like Jonah. Because he's like dark, I like my westerns dark, Unforgiven, baby. That's what I'm about.
You like the Clint Eastwood, not the Hopalong Cassidy.
Bonanza.
Yeah.
Take Bonanza and go shove it somewhere else, man. Give me for a few dollars more, right?
Exactly. Just a little data on this book, just as we haven't done that yet, is CGC census. 177 total graded. I don't know that's a very meaningful number as it's not, the most iconic of books, but
yeah.
9/8s, there's only 12. 9/6s, there's 31. So to find it in high grade is pretty tough.
Yeah.
I would think most people that find this kind of book in high grade are probably going to slab it. So I think that's a fairly realistic number. You can get a decent copy for $20 to $50 in that kind of fine range, maybe very fine. A 9/8 is going to set you back a little over $400, and a 9/6 is going to set you $225. So got a couple things going on there that would keep you going. So it's not the most expensive book. It's a kind of easy book if you're looking to build a small set. I won't say it's easy because a couple of these books you've mentioned in here are incredibly tough.
One in particular.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and show the set. So
ready.
A fairly small cover set. There's some non-cover books we're going to cover, but you've got the U.S., Brazil, Philippines, which anything Philippines is tough. Mexican, we'll talk about is tough.
Oh shit! You know what?
The Mexican twice.
There's the Mexicans in there twice.
Oh well, double hard. We both have a copy, and then a couple others to hit on. So, as always, we want to thank the people that helped us with this particular research. I will let you do that one because you're the research guru. Bjorn was invaluable in helping us with this, and Bjorn also hooked it up, which we'll talk about in the end. But so thank you, Bjorn. Without your help with the Nordic books, we couldn't do this show. I mean, it's simple. How much do you think I paid for that 8.5, John? I bought it back in Christmas. Probably 75 to 100.
I paid 125.
Okay.
I think I overpaid a little bit, but some of the other...
I don't think that's ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. And the reason was because some of the other 8 range, there was even a 9. But, you know, when you start getting to that range, it really, for me, it's really about more like a good presenting copy. Nice. And this was like the nicest that I'd seen in that range that didn't have some weird smudge or something.
Is it a square bound?
No, it's got staples.
But is it a thicker kind of square?
It's thicker. It is thicker for sure.
Like the 52 Green Lantern 87 types book.
Yes.
Okay. I saw the edge on this pick, so that does make it a little hard to kind of get in grade too.
Yeah, because they don't last as well. They don't just not. It's harder to find.
Just get ripped up.
But still, I mean, to get a 9.6 of a book that was in 72, that's got, and let me remind people here, the Kubert cover is amazing. No one's going to doubt that. But the interior story, the interior Diablo story, is penciled by Neil Adams, and if I'm correct, it is inked by Wrightson. So a lot of collectors, there's that one Batman, that famous Batman book, where he's kind of coming down. There's a lot of collectors that really dig those rare and few times that Wrightson inked Neil's work, because they're both like freaking, giants of what they do. So I think that people kind of forget that it was in this weird Western Tales that Adams was doing some neat stuff. And and in this issue, you have a story that's penciled by Adams and inked by Wrightson. So and they're beautiful. The artwork's beautiful.
I feel like I read there's a Cardi story in here, but I could.
I think so. I think so too. Yeah. So it's kind of it's
got a lot of the big guys in one book.
Yep. I mean, Kubert's cover too. It's like it's awesome. It's an awesome book. That's why I've always loved it. See,
our friend Robert has joined us. He's a delinquent as always.
Oh, welcome, he's a super delinquent. How many people do we got?
Yeah, a couple right now. We aren't usually on at this time, so it's a little crazy for us.
Hey guys.
So you want to start with, in my opinion, the coolest one of the bunch here?
Yeah, it is. That's why I think we needed to look at it second.
So this is the Brazilian, and I freaking dig the checkerboard colors on top.
Yeah.
colored letters. I mean, I don't always like when they mess with the logo and take up space because it does cover part of the cover that's really nice. But man, they did it with pizzazz.
They sure as hell did. And then you've got the little silhouette of the cowboy up there with like a little cactus. Like it's like some kind of like what in their mind what represents American westerns. This is the Brazilian. I'm gonna massacre this because I still have not quite figured out how to say it. Riz do Foreste, Especial em Cores, issue 7, published by eBall in January of 1973. So we're about a year after the American. Full color interiors. This book contains the first story from Weird Western 12, A Time to Die with Diablo, and 2 stories from All Star Western 10 that deal with Batlash. I couldn't quite figure out what they were. There is no Jonah story though.
Huh.
So that kind of happens. But it does have the Diablo story, which is the one that Neil drew and writes and did. Now, remember that many e-ball books contain black and white interiors. The Especial en Cores being full color meant they were a bit more expensive on the stands because of that full color. Now, some people have theorized, and I don't quite know, I sometimes hear rumblings within the Brazilian world that the Encores can be a little harder to find. And the theory that I've kind of heard thrown around, again, I think I've talked about this before, but is that because they were just a little more expensive, just a little more didn't get bought, right?
Yeah.
Because they had to pay for all that ink to make it full color. The covers are kind of that cardstocky thing e-balls are famous for. And, I say this all the time. Until you hold an e-ball in your hand and you just, it's kind of like an Italian corno. It's hard to explain, but you just feel the quality of these books. And, I'm going to say this again, too. If you ever find an e-ball out there, if you're a newer collector and you ever find an e-ball and the staples look new and there's not rust on them or they're not at least discolored, question it. That's kind of something that you need to be aware of because most of these books have bad staples unless they escape to Portugal.
Yeah, Portugal's where you get the ones. They're not battling the terrible heat and humidity the whole time. I actually talked to a gentleman in Brazil, and when he finds the nicer books, he's usually sourcing them from Portugal to sell.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so there was that cross-channel seed kind of thing that was happening because, some people might not know this, but Portugal was colonized, or Brazil was colonized by Portugal. That's why they speak Portuguese. That's why, their cultures have kind of a connection to each other. So you did get some cross-pollination of Portuguese comics that were done in Brazil that went over, and Portugal comics that were done in Portugal that go over to Brazil. So you get some cross-pollination there. This is a beauty. I mean, what do you think of this cover, though? I kind of feel like the cave's more yellow. Go back to the American.
Yeah, they lightened it up. They lightened it up because I'm betting because they paid for color. They wanted color.
Yeah, so they
definitely much darker
look at that.
than the original.
There's a lot of black in the black plate on the American, and it seems like the Brazilians just said, "Fuck, let's light it up. It's a cave, but let's act like next to that Indian shaman guy, there's a lantern or something."
Yeah, we're gonna use this color we paid for. Let's go.
Yeah, they want to use it. This is a really, really cool book. If you're gonna hunt this book, like I said, the Encores might be a little tiny bit harder to find than some of the others, but this book can be found. Your real trouble is going to be finding it in a decent condition. Just look around, hit up some of the Brazilian guys on the group, and it doesn't even matter, even if you don't like Western stuff. Any Brazilian e-ball from the 70s, you're going to be able to find. Just kind of hold out for a nicer copy. If you are really anxious, buy a low grade copy and have it as a placeholder. And then when you get a nicer copy, use that as trade bait or sell here within American eBay. It makes a little bit of your money back. That's what I always suggest people do.
All right, so we're gonna move to kind of the other end of the world here.
Of the world, yeah.
And we're gonna go to Sweden.
Sweden.
With the famous Tomahawk cover, which
Tomahawk
ran through DC as well. So they just chose to go with that rendition.
Yep. The Swedish. Well, let me ask you, what do you think of our little guy up there?
I don't enjoy it as much as I'd like. They've already took top banner across, which you lose part of the flair for that cover. I don't dig the yellow and blue on this. The colors are very faded. Where at least the original's dark. The Brazil was bright. This is just very neutral, very tan.
It is a little bit muddied, huh? And is that Batlash?
No, I don't believe so.
Who is that?
That's Tomahawk.
Okay.
Tomahawk, actually.
That's Tomahawk? Okay. Yeah, I don't know my Western guys, Western dudes very well. Okay, so this is the Swedish number 6, published by Williams Forlag, AB, in 1973. Full color. It's nicely printed as far as quality, at least. Now, the colors on these Nordic books are kind of a little weird. And I think if we were to open the interiors, you could tell that they have kind of a pastel-y look to them. Maybe that's why this cover is not doing it. It's almost got like a pastel. You know how pastels don't have a lot of contrast? They got a weird pastel-y look to them. This book, again, does not contain the Jonah story. It does have the Diablo story from Weird Western Tales 12. It's got Star Spangled Comics 124, Tomahawk 104, and Western Comics 58. So it's got a grouping of stories. But I think at the time when this book got licensed, I just didn't think Jonah was anything, right? It's his third appearance. No one thinks anything of Jonah. It's not like this is the mid and late 70s where Jonah had his own title, where people were more interested in like a dark Western character. I kind of feel like at this time, Western readers were still kind of lapping up the Bonanza crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just, I think Jonah got more, I don't know. And that explains why in a lot of these books, his story is not in there. This book is not going to be as hard to find. With Swedish books, I always say go to Tradera, look around Tradera. You'll see that most Swedish books are very reasonable in price. It just seems like when they get into the higher grades, they can get a little more expensive. You put a little effort, you can find them. Neil Adams fans, Joe Kubert fans, you want to build this set, go to Tradera, have some of our Swedish members on the group help you out. They can help you out. I like it, but I'm with you. This one's kind of a All
right, we're gonna do a quick hop to another Nordic country and Norway.
Now, there was some discussion in me, you, and Bjorn, and I don't remember who else. This was in the Weird Western Tales. There was some discussion why these two scans looked different, right? And if we want to get into it, we can look at these actual books because I have them here in a little bit. But I think that they were pretty much the same. I just think that for whatever reason, this scan might have been contrasted.
Yeah, you can get different. The only difference I could really see, other than just the brightness of the scan, was the wording plate. They used different down in that red zone there.
Yeah, it was different. Doden, Tomahawk, whatever that means. El Diablo. But see, I think that's kind of cool. They kept the kind of Mexican title for El Diablo. I like that. That's kind of neat. And the real problem with these Nordic books, you know what? I think I just realized what it was. Our Indian shaman guy gets lost in the cave wall and then the stuff behind him.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets as lost in the other ones.
And it's still that kind of dark, light pastel-y colors. We lose a lot of what we enjoy about it, It just doesn't pop like the other two.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
So
Robert Fordham saying, ouch. I'm not sure what. Are you okay? Are you okay, Rob?
Yeah. So I'm going to flash between these two.
Yeah.
Really, I don't think there's any difference in the art. I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. So
the Nordic does have text in the little blue banner, or not Nordic. The Swedish has text in the little blue banner, but that's about it.
Yeah, and we've said before, these we think these got published basically together.
Yeah.
So not a surprise,
cool.
but it's kind of not exciting when there's just nothing significantly different other than the wording and that kind of text bubble there. So
yeah, and as far as I could tell, there was no interesting anecdotes, or this is just your basic DC Western story published in the Nordic countries. Some people might have liked it or not. There wasn't some cool, element that we could sleuth out or anything about them. It's like, these ones are sort of like eating pasta, but you forgot your pasta sauce.
Yeah, they're not probably particularly coveted there either.
Yeah, I don't know. We did ask Bjorn what a lot of if Westerns were popular in the Nordic countries, and he said that they were, but he was giving us dates like 50s and other older dates, and that makes sense. I really feel like this book kind of follows a little bit that the normal thing that happened to all the Westerns in comics is once superheroes arrived, Westerns just slowly started falling off of people's want lists and loves, and it just Westerns weren't nearly as cool when the 60s hit.
So most of these first couple books are pretty easy to find. If you've got a connection, you're going to be able to locate them. Probably not a significant price point. But now we're going to jump to the ones that'll cause you trouble.
Or the one that will cause you trouble.
Well,
no. Oh, wait, no. You are correct. Yes, two. Yep.
The next one, the dreaded Philippines.
Yes. Do you want nightmares? Do you like nightmares, John?
No.
Because this book will give you a nightmare. The Philippines give people nightmares. This is the Filipino Weird Western 12. National Bookstore, published by National Bookstore, sometime in the mid to late 70s. We don't know. The goddamn Filipino books, they didn't strip in a new date on the Indicia. In Goodwill, on National Bookstore, on the Alamars. I'm trying to remember if there's an Indicia at all. I can't. It's just Filipinos are extremely hard to research and get actual facts, actual data. It's almost like you're living in a speculative world with the Filipino bookstore prints. But
they basically use the same cover, other than the price sticker.
Cover. Same cover.
You see the price sticker replaced is your main change in it.
Yeah, you're going to see that circle's going to be gone. And there's another one that people oftentimes miss. Do you see your little spine? So notice on the Filipino spine, this is one of those larger 52-page books. It's got the little Weird Western 12 or whatever, but then it's just white. If you go to the American, there's added information on there.
Huh. Okay. Let's see. I don't know if we'll get it from this scan. Oh, there is more down there. Red.
There's more red, and there's just more information. So the Filipinos stripped that too. So with a lot of these 52 big pager books, you'll notice Tarzan is another one. The Filipino will have a much more reduced information spine. And the book is basically a carbon copy of the American with all of the ad pages missing. Okay. So there's none of those ads in there. So it's got less pages. It's full color. And the empty price circle is a tell. The side is a tell. But I would think your average American collector, probably it wouldn't bounce out of them. If they're going through a long box and this book was in there with some other Weird Westerns,
pretty much every bookstore Filipino though is this. So you've got to know that the price sticker is there, or that there isn't.
You've got to know what they stripped out of them, and particularly the DCs. Now the Marvels have it missing too, but for some reason I feel like the Marvels kind of scream out more at you. Let's go to the back.
All right, let's show the back, which does stand out.
Yep. So we can kind of date this book because of this ad. We think this is a later National Bookstore. We have the Philippines Research Society. We have a lot of Filipino collectors in there, and we're always debating stuff. But one of the things that we think we know, we don't even know what we don't know, but we think we know, is that you can date the National Bookstore books according to the back ads. This ad in particular, we think is mid to late 70s or mid 70s at least, not one of the earlier ones. Yeah, definitely mid to late 70s with this ad. So that's why we think it's that. But then again, if this book is in a bag and board, you're not going to know what it is unless you pull the book out. So that's my advice to any of the newbies. If you're floating around in a comic book store here in America or anywhere that has American books and you're flipping through them, always keep an eye out and remember in your mind, if the pricing is blank, there's a good chance it's a National Bookstore Filipino book. If you see a blank circle, if you see a blank square in the marbles,
or something stamped there that doesn't look right,
go ahead, open the bag and very carefully check that back, because what you might have is a Filipino book, and they're extremely tougher to source than American books, and the American comic shop's probably not going to know the difference. Is going to be my guess. So you're going to buy it at an American price, and you're going to get a very tough to source version edition of that book in comparison to its American counterpart. Now there are some of the Filipino books that kind of come up.
I noticed you're avoiding the term rare, and I know we don't like to say rare, but I mean we do have to say versus an American printed anything, a Filipino is going to have a smaller base print.
Oh yeah, and as it stands right now, I think there's about between 6. The last time I checked, there was 6 that we had seen pop out. There were 2 that were in a bound in the group, in the known FCC group, which has gotten bigger, and through the Philippine Research Society too. You know, I tell this to a lot of people. It's not just there's a lot of Filipinos that come to the Filipino Research Society that aren't in necessarily the FCC group, and they will also come in and oftentimes go, "Oh my God, I didn't know that existed." So you know, I'm not going to say rare, but what I am going to say is that they are tough. They're tough.
And if you find somebody building that set, they're going to be forever grateful for you finding it.
Yeah, I'm gonna use a very male metaphor here. Well, maybe I probably should.
You're live. I can't edit.
I know I'm live. I was just gonna say it's like, you know, when you were single and out partying and looking to hook up. You know what I mean? American books are like, you know, your average tape. You know what you can get. You know, you're not punching above your weight. You can get it. These books are that hot blonde that just broke up with her boyfriend. She's looking to get laid. She's drunk, and you're in just the right place at the right time. And you're punching up at like 7-8%. You know, you're like, how did I end up with this chick? You're driving over to her place, and you're going, how did this happen? Oh my God, that's what Filipino books are.
That is why we don't let Matt go live. All right.
I'm just saying, I'm using a funny, let's say, college era metaphor.
All right. So this one's tough. This other one, the next one is tough, and I don't quite understand it as much why it's tough. Yeah. So we're going to go there, and it's the Mexican.
Yeah.
Printed April 73. So again, about a year after the original. Under the Hopalong Cassidy title, 222.
Hopalong Cassidy, right? Oh my God, yeah. Okay, the Mexican Hopalong Cassidy 222 was published by Editorial Navarro in April of 1973. Full color. You know, Navarro did a great job on their quality on these books. And this book contains both the classic Jonah story along with the Diablo story.
So this is the only one with both.
With both, but the weird thing is,
the Filipino one too.
The Filipino one is too. But the weird thing is about this one is I don't recognize the third story. It's Western, but it's not the one that I thought it was. So they chose to leave that. They chose to put another story in there. I think it looks like Batlash to me, but I can't. I don't think it's the one from Wierd Western 12. Of note in this book, like John says, this is a tough book to find. Now, we've talked a little bit about Navarro's in Mexico, and I think it was what was the other DC book we did? I can't remember right off the bat. Might have been it was the Swamp Thing. The Mexicans were Marvel zombies. Okay, I've talked to enough Mexican collectors that grew up that have told me that DC just was not as popular. Kind of mirroring America, but I think even worse than America. I think there were even less Mexican collectors that appreciated the DC output. I've heard it said before it to be as bad as like almost 80-20. 80% Marvel, 20% DC. I don't think that follows on the DC front. But they weren't turned on by DC. And so I think some of these more obscure DC Navarros, unlike Batman, unlike Superman, the big ones, I just don't think they were bought off the stands, and I just don't think they were as cared for or as collected.
Well, so it's also a Western.
And it's also a Western. So this book has all kinds of shit not going for it in Mexico, right?
And Western, it's carrying along from Hopalong Cassidy, which was a happy Western. So it's not even like we're showing you a dark story other than the cover, but if they look at it, they're not really realizing it.
Yeah. I mean, the other part of it though, I thought about this. I was like, well, vaqueros have a huge culture in Mexico, so you would think that the vaqueros would be interested in Western stories, and maybe they were, but like I've talked about before in the past, comic books are considered cuentitos. Cuentitos, like a little toy. I'm going to go get a cuentito for my baby boy, right? And the problem with that is in Mexico, where it's a very machismo culture, you grow up out of comics. See this room right here? A lot of culturally, they'd say I'm just a man child, right? Because of the machismo, it's high up in there, and so I've talked with many Mexican collectors about this before too. They're like, you want to get a chick? You're not going to tell her you collect comics. So that's the thing. So I think there's a lot against DC books in Mexico, but particularly some Western DC books. And maybe I'm talking out of my ass. Some of this stuff is all speculative, but that's what makes it fun. This is a scan of my copy. John, you just recently got one.
Yeah.
You have one as well. And the other one that we know of is with Tim Bildhauser. How many is that, John?
That's 3.
That's 3 that I've ever seen. Before Tim Bildhauser, there was not a scan of this on the internet. There was not a scan of it on Balde Comics. Rulo didn't have this book, as far as I know. Some of the big top Mexican collectors in Mexico did not have this book. Why is it so damn hard to source? I don't know, but now we know of. Now I can say I've seen 3: Tim Bildhauser's, mine, and yours, and that's it. And I got to tell you, I didn't pay a lot of money for it. I think Tim is a Palacio collection, so it comes from that pedigree. I think Tim bought his for like $30. And it's like super nice.
I didn't pay a lot for mine, so
you didn't pay much for yours. I think I paid.
I only bought it because you talked about it so much, and I'm like, well, why not? Somebody's going to need it someday.
Somebody's going to need it, and I think I paid after shipping and finder fees cost in Mexico. Mine came up on Mercado, so it actually came up in Mexico. I think it was like $80. That's a steal for a book that I've only seen 3 times. You know what I mean? It was a no freaking brainer, and because I built the set anyway. I mean, I would even get to a point where if you ever got tired of your book, I'll give you 3 times what you paid for it just to have a second copy. So it's like, but anyway, the Mexican book is super cool. Though I hate Hopalong Cassidy, I do like the yellow on the orange banner.
It just doesn't mesh well with the dark imagery with the happy cowboy. And I kind of think the coloring is kind of right middle of the road. It's not the pastels. It's not the dark. Kind of met in the middle of all of them.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is a little muddied as well, and definitely not as bright. The more that I see these, and the more that I think about it, I really think the star. If you're just going visually, I think the star of this set is the Brazilian.
Absolutely.
I think that's the Marilyn Monroe of this set.
Absolutely. So now that's the cover set. We gave this one a bonus image on the main image. That's my bad for not catching it.
No, it was my bad. I built the stupid graphic. I could have figured it out.
And so now we've got a couple non-cover versions that do contain the story. First one being France.
Brulant. Okay. So the Brulant, this is Brulant 42. It's the French, published by Artema in 1976, so this is a ways from the original American. This book is one of those kind of neat, smaller French digest size. Do you own any Ardette books, John? I
do not own any Ardet books.
They're tiny. They're digest and they're thick, so they made them thick. They're pretty cool. They have kind of a neat little following. I think a lot of French like them because they were kind of, like they say, comics pocket. You could take it anywhere. You could put it in your lunchbox. You could, and it could stand up because these books are actually thicker. They got a thicker spine, so there's more stories in them. I think there's, in France, I have heard, I think that the Ardets are ones that, that some collectors just have a fondness for because, like I said, they would take them with them and everywhere they went. And they're just little powerhouse books. The publisher Ardet did a ton of DC stuff in the 70s. Now, the issue that I do have with them is they are black and white, which can be good in some circumstances and bad in others. This book has Army at War 244, Weird Western Tales 12, with the Jonah story, Weird War Tales 15, Fighting Forces 139, and GI Combat 149. Or Fighting Forces 139 and GI Combat 149. So it makes sense they went with a war cover here.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of everything for the war Western kind of fanatics.
And that fits in with the dark theme too, because all the the war stuff is more adult anyway, I think, than Westerns. And so it makes sense that they would throw in a weird Western and throw in the Weird War, which is another DC series that I really enjoy, the Weird War stuff. But this is cool. It should be easy. Just go to French eBay, you'll find it.
All right. So the next two we did not put on the set. We're going to kind of show you, since we're live, how to find some data. Not all the data, but some data that you may not have known where to look. So we're going to go to Grand Comics database. So if you're a Golden Age collector or somebody that looks to obscure things, you're familiar with it. If you're in foreigns, it's a useful tool. It's not all encompassing. It's not always going to have all the information, but it's going to have a lot more than it used to. People are starting to populate it out. So I searched for Weird Western Tales, and this is where it took me. I then get to choose what I want to look at. Indexed, which means, it's here. Partially indexed means most of it's here, pending approval and reserve. Since this is a U.S. book, most of it's here. So we're going to go to 12, click on it. It's going to take me to the page for that book. We're going to see the traditional Weird Western Tales image. Tells us all the U.S. information, things like that. And if you go down to the bottom, it's going to call them all reprints because it's got U.S. reprints in there. It's got, a 2020 reprint. It's got a 2005 reprint. So it's putting all the foreigns in there. It's got the Brulant we just talked about. It's got the Tomahawk we talked about.
Yep.
A couple other American reprints. Now it's got three, but one was a later 2009 reprint of Showcase, which is a reprint of 2005. So we don't really count that. But it's got two more. This is from 1982, also titled Tomahawk. So I'm going to click on it and show you what we find here. Takes you to the information that they have on this book.
And in Swedish, which is pretty impressive.
Apparently it's a Davy Crockett cover. I didn't catch that the first time. And then I'm going to click on the image just so we can kind of get a bigger look at this book. It's got
there it is.
Kind of a boring Tomahawk image. Does have Jonah Hex on the top.
Jonah Hex down there on the bottom, yeah.
And Davy Crockett. So kind of cool.
Yeah. And the reason John and I wanted to highlight this was, especially for newer collectors, we're always getting the questions. How do you know what's out there? How do you know how to build this set? How do I find out this information? Is there an overarching database? And the answer is no. There's not really an overarching database that has everything. It just doesn't exist. There's regional databases that you can go to research. But all of that being said, Grand Comics database has gotten infinitely better at cross-referencing their foreigns with their American and just getting foreign information inputted into them. And it makes sense that that would happen over time. In the early days when we were building sets and hunting books, Grand Comics database was worthless. But since the early days, as it's come along, look at that. It's giving you all the stories in Swedish. It might not have everything, But it's a huge tool. If you're building sets and you're trying to learn within the niche, use GCD to help you research. It's where I send all the newbies.
And it's also this strange. It's got the same cover. Also mentions Jonah Hex, Davy Crockett. They were side set on the other one. They were even set here. And the other one had a tomahawk straight across with kind of a clean, just cartoony tomahawk. This one's got the tomahawk into the logo. So
yeah, and this one's the Norwegian, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So these were both printed in '82. So they're a little later printings than the ones we looked at. And
I think Bjorn said that they did not get the actual Jonah story until this issue.
So very kind of cool to see that they just went completely off cover. And the Western was still going in 1982, which I'd be hard pressed to find other Westerns in the U.S. at that time, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't. Well, Jonah Hex, I guess. But
I don't know if he was really running through most of the 80s. I mean,
when did
the 70s?
When did that go out? When did that run stop?
Late 70s. It was about 60 issues. And then he kind of came back in the 90s, I think. So it might not have been much going on. So Grand Comic Database, kind of cool tool to be using. We're going to click that out of here.
Yeah, that'll give you a lot of information. Now, what they don't do well on the foreign front is they don't show like the date, like the specific date that book was published. They'll have the start date of the run, but very often they don't have the specific date, so you're not quite able to tell where it hit. Sometimes they'll have foreign books, but just the scan, but no info at all. It'll just be all question marks. But that's better than nothing. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. It's a place to start. When I ask you questions, you're like, how many are there of this book? Did you check Grand Comic Database?
Yeah, I'm like,
no, because I can text you faster. But anybody else should probably look there first.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. You can give a man a fish, or you can teach him to fish. And what we want to do for a lot of these new guys, let's teach them to fish. Let's teach them how to research. And the easiest place to research is Grand Comic Database. Yep.
All right. So we said we would kind of end the show with a little bit of show and tell. Show some books off.
Yep.
I'm going to start because I want to give a shout out to one of our friends, and I got mine first because you live in the middle of nowhere.
I haven't gotten mine yet. Oh my God, I'm jealous, John.
You live west, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I should be a Western fan. I'm out here in the West in the land of Billy the Kid.
So we've talked about our friend before, Ilke from Paralel Evren. He has a new book coming out. They printed in Turkey the 181. Hulk 181.
That's pretty.
So they did the classic cover as a reprint. Several thousand copies of this one. I think 5, but I could be wrong. And then there are some Turkish Marvel variants. This is limited to 500, which is a redraw by Yildiz Cinar, who we saw several times. I mentioned his style on the Spider-Man and Silver Surfer. That's amazing. And he just does a fantastic job with the coloring.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What a beautiful book.
Wolverine's a little more, again, tiny, sinewy, kind of a little more artistic.
Yeah.
And the coloring just pops. So these were limited to 500. There was also one by Gorham. Went with the Hulk and Red Hulk and Weapon H. So This is also a little bit recolored, slightly different style. Also limited to 500.
And that cover's got like a sheen to it's got a gloss, right? That's different.
They both kind of do. It's just they've kind of drawn them a little more painted. I don't know, painted the style. And then Paralel Evren did 2 limited editions to 250. So only 250 of these are out, and they had them signed for me and Matt as a thank you. But I had mine to Global Comic Safari. So this is the limited Gorham, where they replaced the Hulk with Maestro, who's got his own series coming out.
Oh man, that's pretty.
And this is
Global Comic Safari. I like it.
I forgot to mention there's also a green and a gray sketch variant that I got, but I didn't pull those out. And then this was by Cinar, where he replaced Wolverine with X-23.
That's
also
so
signed
cool.
Global Comic Safari for us.
So
cool.
cool.
I like the way Hulk's drawn. He's a little blocky. The other characters are very kind of muscular and tight, so very cool. He's done a little bit of live sale on the FCC group, so if you're really itching to get one there. I think he's listed a few on eBay, but he's having some trouble with the Turkish post office. So,
that's right.
He'll be listing them soon. Follow his shop, Paralel Evren. We'll put a link in the bio or in the description if you're looking. And if you remember, some of the AF-15 reprints are very, very hot. The Gwen Miles one is a $400 or $500 book all of a sudden because you just can't find it.
Well, those tiny print runs, man, 250. That's like nothing. That's zilch.
Yeah. So just one more time to kind of see them all.
They're pretty, John. I really like them.
Yeah. So give them a.
I don't like modern. I don't even like moderns, and I love these.
No, it's so fun to kind of just see them. It's Turkish artists working for a Turkish book, and these are guys working with Marvel and DC and Dynamite and some of those books. So check them out. They're doing some quality stuff, and it is fun. And if you're a Hulk 181 freaking collector, you got to get at least the base one of this.
Yeah, I agree.
So
super cool. Guru Cinar.
So thanks, Paralel Evren, for hooking us up. I know Matt will show his off soon whenever he gets it.
Yeah,
I'll let you show something off. What'd you get this week?
Okay, so I want to show off. So speaking of Bjorn helps us with the Nordic stuff, and Bjorn had been talking to me about hooking me up with some stuff. And okay, well, so we'll start out with this. So here we have the Swedish Tomahawk. Now, it actually, when you see it in person, it looks a little better, but you see that the Indian getting lost.
It's definitely a little bit bleached coloring. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not got a lot of pop.
And even here, I even think the Norwegian had more red here, so it's just a little bit more, just a little more contrasty. Great book, Bjorn. And these books that I'm going to show were given to me for free. I didn't pay a dime for them. They're a care package, so I got to thank Bjorn for that. This is like a Christmas present or something. So I'm gonna get him back. I have some book. I have a South African Spidey that I'm going to be sending him for free. So I'm going to definitely show him some love for this. But yeah, so now I have a complete set. John, I have a complete Weird Western Tales 12 cover set as far as I know. That's rare. It's rare in this hobby when you can say that. Now maybe there are some more. If you know of another one that uses the cover and it's not like 2010 or some shit, let me know because I want to know. But this is the one. I opened this and I screamed.
All right.
I have a video. I have a video in the group so Bjorn had said I threw in some extras in there that are gifts, and so I knew that there were some extras coming. But when I saw this, I screamed. Look at that.
Oh, Conan.
Conan one. What makes this one special is it's painted. It's repainted. Do you see how it's repainted? Yeah. This is a cool one in the set. And I build this set, but my Conan 1 set's sort of on ice right now. I'm trying to build other shit. But Bjorn knew that I needed it because I talked to him about it before in the past. And it's great condition. I love the redraw. I love how you have the creatures in the back kind of in like a blue or a black tone. So it really allows Conan to pop. There's also something else missing here, though. What's missing, John?
Oh, I don't know. You're putting me on the spot.
Our chick. Remember our chick that was right here?
Oh, yeah.
And then we got, remember our instead of our dragons flying, or dragon men or whatever flying, you got this kind of cool, this reminds me of like the 80s movie posters where they just look like splashes of color. But it's like red, so So it feels like to me like it's on fire, and it just this painted Conan one just feels more angsty, more violent. There's something to it that just I don't know. And then it's got kind of a cool banner up here. Thank you, Bjorn. This was wonderful. And then another one, right? So he throws in another one.
All right. What do you got?
You ready?
Oh, yeah. Can't beat a Spidey.
Yeah, I mean, I know that gets you turned on, John.
I didn't mean to be collecting 300s, but I did.
We can't help what we like, right? We got this lizard brain in our brain.
Can't be a board collector, not get some 300s.
Yeah, and what I love about the Swedish 300 too, I've said before, I love the little spider. I mean, it's cool. And then the Venom. And remember from our 300 show, we think that these Nordics, or at least one or two of them, actually had a bigger circle than the American. Oh, yeah. So the classic McFarlane art's bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay this karma forward. I'm not going to give away my undercopy. This is a nicer book. I got this one. Bjorn gave it to me because he knew that mine was a little rough. I think mine has a sticker on it. Remember we talked about the sticker in the 300 show? Yeah. I think mine has a sticker, and it's just not as nice. So I'm going to keep this one, and I think I'm just going to sell to the community for a nice cheap price. Maybe even like $30, $35. Just pass it forward on to one of the 300 set builders, and get them somebody's going to need it. You know, I'm not going to charge them much. I'm just going to cheap, basically what I paid for it. I think I paid like $35.
Matt's inbox is blowing up as we speak.
Yeah, so I'm going to have an undercopy 300. So if you're looking for that, Swedish 300.
See who's watching the show before you post it on the thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, we haven't had very many people, Doc J and Robert.
Yeah, nobody's commenting. That's okay. They're shy.
My one feeling right here in my heart is hurt.
I'm going to show off one more book just because I got it in. And I showed it off Monday night on Tales from Flipside, but I don't know if everybody watches that. And I really dug this book. I didn't even realize it, but I had ordered it from Portugal. Mm-hmm. I saw it as a Brazilian, and I was like, okay, cool. And then when I got the tracking, I went, oh, Portugal, sweet. So it is Jaime Cortez.
Oh, man, that's pretty.
Mundo de Sombra. A mummy cover. Cortez is a fantastic Brazilian artist, one of the best, one of their favorites. Oh, yeah. I'm not educated enough to talk all of it, but this one caught my eye. It's gorgeous. You want a wonderful shipping story. It came no bag, no board, but between two pieces of cardboard. It came beautiful. It's at least a 6, if not a little higher.
Wow.
It's got kind of that. It's not a glossy cover. It's got kind of a fairly smooth cover. This is actually a reprint of this cover. Robert showed me he's got the original from about, in the 50s. This one's from like 61 or 62. What's kind of interesting, you can see here in this top corner, this used to have a logo in it. They just kind of grayed it out. They added the arrow down here to the story. So they've kind of just took out some stuff and added some other stuff. So kind of cool. And I just love the cover, just the style, the colors. It's all gorgeous. The pages inside are great because, again, it wasn't sitting in Brazil. It's been in Portugal. So it was a little more taken care of. So very, very happy to have added this on accident.
I love the sarcophagus on that, dude.
Oh, yeah.
It's sweet. I mean,
it's very Tutankhamun.
Yeah, totally. And Jaime Cortez. So we were kind of talking about this artist for people that don't know. He is up there. I mean, he's one of the top horror artists in Brazil, or as far as vintage artists in Brazil. Yeah. And I mean, you can recognize his work like from far. He is a badass.
Basically. Yeah, he's got a very distinct style. So
very distinct.
Very cool.
I have one more.
We'll let you show one more. Yeah, I told you.
One more group. One more group, because this has to deal with the CBSI family.
All right, I'll give you one more turn.
Okay, so Brian McClay
that's me.
Is Brian McClay runs the Bogcast. It's this really cool podcast. Check it out on YouTube. Definitely go check out his stuff. And he's also a big guy in the CBSI. He's been wonderful.
Monday nights with the Flipside with us. You can catch him on Fridays on the Top Man.
Catch him on Monday nights. I think he's on a few of the card shows too, right, John?
Yeah, he does some cards too. So
he does some cards and stuff. Anyway, so Brian and I have got to know each other, and he found some books in Arizona in the wild that were foreigns, and he shared them one night, and I was like, my jaw dropped a little bit. And I had a book. It's a baby eating cover. I know.
just throw that out there.
I'm just gonna say it. Yeah, I've been horrible, right? I'm totally horrible or over adult 18. But anyway, so there's a style of horror that's very graphic, and this was a baby eating cover, and I had one, and I showed it off to him, and he thought it was just super cool. Like, even if you're not into comics, it's like this. It's like a conversation starter or something. Like, I don't know why, but I picture in my mind sometimes going into a bar, go, do you like comics? And someone go, I used to read comics as a kid. Have you ever seen a conquistador feast on a baby in cover art? And people no, there's no way that's happening. You're like, well, actually, check this out. Anyway, it was a crazy book. So I traded that book to him for specifically one book. Now, you guys just heard us talk about why DC Navarros are hard to find, right? Yeah. If it wasn't in Superman or if it wasn't Batman, El Hombre Murciélago, they could be tough to find.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that Jack Kirby, baby. I saw this thing, and I mean, I got aroused, John. When Brian showed this, I mean, it's
nice. It's pretty. Nice cover.
Pretty. Mr. Miracle 1, classic Kirby stuff. And, this is like, I was checking the indicia. I think this was in 72 or maybe even 71. I mean, this is an old Mexican Navarro. And to find them this nice, you just don't. So
escape to the desert.
It somehow made its way into Arizona, maybe, and it got stuck into a collection. And beautiful. Like I said, this arouses me. Along with this book, he sent me two other Navarros that I can say are probably from the same collection because the quality is the same.
Oh, wow.
So let's look at this one first. This is Tesoro de Cuentos Clásicos. It's like movie classics, I think, is what it is, or literature classics. Presenta Sherlock Holmes and El Mujer Demonio. That means she's a demon chick. Like it. And it's kind of like a pinkish color. It's cool art. Una muñeca en brazo, a doll, embrafeciada con el final de Maravilla. So I think Maravilla is like wonder, the wonder. I don't know. It's a revista and cool, super cool, in great condition too. Here's the other one. This one's the Mujeres Celebres. So I don't know what that means. I think it's like women, celebrated women, maybe.
Yeah.
Leonora de Aquitania Flor de Francia. Una de las reinas más facientes de la historia. So, Queens of History, something. I don't know exactly, but I'm guessing it is probably a story, a literature story of a historical woman. Brian McClay, you are an angel, my friend. And he's also an angel because this copy of this book hit eBay after we made the trade. And the freaking thing, the guy was like, selling it for like, what was it, John? Like $375 or something. I was like,
it ended up at auction for $370 something or something.
I mean, something insane. And so I contacted Brian back, and I was like, dude, I feel bad, because I thought the book was like maybe in the $100 range, maybe $125. So when I saw that, I hit Brian back up, and I was like, dude, you either need more money or I need to get you more books, something. And then Brian was like, nah, fair trade. We made the trade. You got the book, brother. So thank you. We can't do this stuff without friends. This part of the hobby, it's huge to have sources and contacts and friends because it's just going to make everything easier.
Yes, absolutely. So we had fun. Live session. We didn't go too far off the rails, so we appreciate that. Thanks, Doc J and Robert for commenting. If you were silently watching, we appreciate it.
Yep.
Check out CBSI, comicbookinvest.com. Check out Foreign Comic Collecting Magazine official group on Facebook if you're just now finding the foreigns. And check us out usually on Tuesday nights when we don't get distracted to do another Global Comic Safari. So thank you all. We will see you again very soon.